On this episode of the World of CONCACAF, we head to Nicaragua for another CONCACAF Laser Focus. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the World of CONCACAF podcast. I'm Eric Schmitz.
I'm Jonathan Slape.
And I'm Donald Wine.
And I'm very excited to see all of you guys. It's been a minute since we've done a laser focus, but we need to get back into it. September is right around the corner. We've got, Nations League coming back, but there's so much of CONCACAF we have not discovered yet. And I feel like this episode in particular, there's a lot of things that we discovered. And I don't know, I'm kind of excited to dive into it. What about you guys?
It's the rare one where I don't think any of us have been there. Right?
That's right.
So yeah, none of us have been there. I mean, it's not necessarily the most hospitable place for Americans to visit at the moment, and for the last little bit. But
I wonder why.
Yeah. It's like
we'll get into it.
Yes, yeah, we'll get into it. But before we start, I do want to start with some fun trivia. Nicaragua, the country we're going to dive into today, they've played the U.S. men's national team once ever. Jonathan, do you want to guess which game that was?
I know which one it is.
That is the Cleveland game in the 2017 Gold Cup.
Yes.
Gold Cup
that is
stage
correct.
finale. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That game, I don't know, we might get into it more later, but like what we'll talk about for what America has done in Nicaragua, I think we got some of the karma coming back to us specifically.
Yeah, and after everything we've done to that country, we made them go to Cleveland.
I know. Well,
no. To be fair, CONCACAF made them go to Cleveland because they also made us go to. You guys went to Cleveland. I decided not even go. I was like, I'm going to a wedding instead. So
yeah, as usual, Donald
Bill
smarter
Hamid,
than the rest of us.
3-0 game. Bill Hamid in goal with pitch the shutout. Shout out Bill Hamid, my guy.
So dumb. All right, it is time for CONCACAF Laser Focus, and we are talking about Nicaragua. Donald, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about Nicaragua.
Yes, so we are talking about the Republic of Nicaragua. And ladies and gentlemen, y'all bear with me because there's a little bit of information in both the history and then the culture, geography of the section that we think is important we need to get to. First off, Nicaragua as a kind of an entity goes all the way back to 12,000 BC. It was first inhabited by Paleo Indians. Later on, a lot of indigenous groups that still exist today, the Mosquito, the Rama, Mayanana, Matagalpas, and then after that, the Chorotegas, the Nicarao, which is where some people think the name came from, Nicaragua, and then the Subtiabas, all inhabited this area, all the way up until the end of the 15th century. So for a long time, it was just indigenous groups that lived here. Of course, Christopher Columbus, who, decided he was going to quote unquote discover everything in Latin America, reached Nicaragua in 1502 and said, hey, this might be a place that we should settle. And the Spanish returned to the area about 20 years later to colonize the land. And it is said by some that in the process of encountering some of the indigenous people, the guy who came through and colonized Nicaragua thought that they were the Nicarao. So he gave, at least some people believe, he gave Nicaragua its name, which combines Nicaragua with agua, which of course is Spanish for water. That actually wasn't the tribe's name, but legend has it that's how the country got its name. They then, of course, colonized the area, taking over a lot of the indigenous groups' land, taking their wives as partners, introducing the groups to European diseases, which killed a lot of people. And then there was also kind of a slave trade that was set up with colonies in Panama and Peru. The one thing about Nicaragua, and we'll talk about it a little bit more later, The city of Leon was the city of Nicaragua for a very long time until 1610, when Mototumbo, which is the biggest volcano in Nicaragua, erupted and it destroyed that great city. The city was rebuilt, but not in its original location. It was a little bit northwest of the city. And so now the new Leon that exists today is just a little bit past where the ruins of the old city, Leon Viejo, is now. Nicaragua was also a place where there was conflict between the British and Spanish during the American Revolutionary War. The English tried to colonize the Mosquito Coast, which is the Atlantic side of Nicaragua. But shortly after they tried to colonize the land, they abandoned it. Obviously, they had a lot of things they were dealing with, a couple of fronts, especially obviously America trying to gain its independence at the same time. They were kind of stretched thin and decided to abandon their efforts to in their minds, liberate, but really colonize Nicaragua. Nicaragua eventually became part of the Mexican Empire in 1821, but very quickly said, nah, we don't do monarchies, and they overthrew the Mexican monarchy in 1823. There was a loose coalition of Central American provinces that were together, but in 1838, Nicaragua finally became an independent nation. Now, a lot of people, especially the Americans listening, have heard of Nicaragua. And it's because Nicaragua has been directly tied with American history for a very long time. It served as a pass-through for Americans looking to get to California in the 1850s during the gold rush. It was the one place that you were able to get from the east coast of the United States to California by sea. A lot of people decided to take their chances there, and Nicaragua served as kind of a pass-through for it. But in 1854, and this is where I bring you to it, in 1854, Nicaragua had a civil war. And one side of the conflict was basically the Democrats versus the conservatives. And the Democrats were supported by mercenaries that came from the United States, colonists that were sent by a guy named William Walker. William Walker hailed from Nashville, Tennessee. And together,
it's not our fault. It is not our fault.
But it's very interesting that there's a link between Nashville, of all places, and Nicaragua. But together with the mercenaries, William Walker was able to defeat the other side. And then in a swift about face, they thought, the Democrats were basically saying, oh, great, thanks for helping us out. We're going to take over this government now. And he goes, nah, I'm going to take it over. So he took control of the country and had then U.S. President Franklin Pierce recognize his regime as the legitimate government of Nicaragua.
Yeah.
Now,
can we talk about,
yes.
It is absolutely insane that some American asshole just goes down there and says, I'm the president now of the
United States to recognize it, right? It's
insane.
You would think this guy from Nashville, who probably didn't speak Spanish, calls up or whatever he does, sent by telegram to the president and goes, hey, we're the government now. And the president didn't respond with, yo, man, you're not Nicaraguan. Why would you be the government? No questions asked, just kind of said, yeah, that sounds great. Congratulations, Mr. President for life. But that's what happened. And of course, yeah.
So he did a really bad job too. Like he pissed off absolutely everybody. So he took over one of Cornelius Vanderbilt's train lines, just took it over. And then also, re-legalized slavery, just an all around just absolute piece of shit. But yeah.
And the one thing about it is that the main thing that he controlled was this pass through between the Gulf of Mexico and the Pacific Ocean for people trying to get to the other side of the country. And you mentioned all the other people that he pissed off. Well, they decided they weren't going to have it. And so in 1857, forces from Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Honduras, and other places in Central America joined together to eventually drive out Walker and his crew. Now, the interesting thing about that part is Walker went back to the United States. He was repatriated into the U.S. Navy, returned to New York City, where he arrived as a national hero. And so in Nashville, I know there's a couple of places that probably, is he on a building somewhere? Is he a statue or something?
There is a historic marker in downtown Nashville, apparently. See, the interesting thing for me is doing all this research, and honestly why I love that we're doing this podcast. I had no idea. I had no idea, how all of this was tied together, all the wheels within wheels of this entire story. It's a guy from Nashville went to Nicaragua, tried taking it over, declared himself president. And there are all these little things that came along with it that really influence other parts of our region. That's like things that we know. We were just talking about before we started recording. So at the Second Battle of Rivas in 1856, where Walker's group was defeated by a Costa Rican army, the hero in the battle was a soldier named Juan Santa Maria who sacrificed himself, went and set the stronghold of Walker's group, set it on fire. Like he died heroically. The airport in San Jose, Costa Rica is named for Juan Santa Maria, who drove out the guy from Nashville. Like the airport, we've flown into that airport. I didn't know the connection. The other wild thing is that one of the generals from that Honduras and El Salvador had sent in, it was I'm gonna try the name. It's Florencio Jatruk. Anyways, this general who was fighting Walker was a hero to Honduras and Salvadorans, and they couldn't pronounce his name right, so they called him Catracho. That's where the nickname Los Catrachos come from. It's from this general who was fighting this asshole from Nashville that came down there and took over. So it's like the entire region, there are parts of this story that like infiltrated it, and just like, you know, secondhand, that's just like part of the story to us now. And it's like you diving in, it's like you didn't know where this come from, but it
was
wild.
really a group effort to drive this guy out. But again, it goes to show you what, you know, a lot of dudes back then went like the links they went to colonize and patriate a country in their own name. And they just kind of, again, he just kind of went down there and said, I'm the president. Like, forget all y'all. Hey, U.S. president, you want to just name, you know, want to just declare me the president in your eyes? And the guy goes, yeah, sounds great. You know, congratulations. And so again, when he came back to the United States, he came back a hero, and everyone was like, yo, how did it go down there? Like, and he was just kind of like, let's not talk about it. And so then it kind of, the story came out a little bit later on, but initially people, again, called him a hero until he kind of started being wishy-washy with recalling tales of his conquests, and how they went, because again, like all of Central America loped up together to drive him out. And that's what it took to repatriate, or at least liberate Central America from his regime.
I am not going to get into the etymology of the word filibustering, but you know, in the process of this, learned about that and how it ties into William Walker. So if you're ever just interested about what just get William Walker, fascinating person that leads you down a lot of different ways.
Yeah. Well, we should wrap up the story with him, what happened to him. Like he came back to the US, then he's like, nah, I'm gonna try this again. And he went down to Honduras, and you know, he ended up getting arrested and like killed in Honduras. He's buried in Trujillo, in Honduras. He died executed by firing squad in 1860. So you know what? He got, but like,
but he got by trying again, right? He tried to get another bite out of the same apple.
This is after what he did in Nicaragua, and we didn't even talk about how he had tried to like colonize Mexico too, like Baja California. Like he was trying to take over.
Well, like I said, he was just trying to be the man somewhere. Yeah. And if at first you don't succeed, just write the president and tell him that you've done it, and then the president will apparently say yes, he has done it. But we say all that to say is by the way, people also call that war you mentioned, it's like the filibuster war, which is kind of where the starting. Obviously, filibuster means something a lot different in the United States now, but that is the first origins of the word filibuster and how it was used in everyday lexicon in the United States. But I mentioned that a lot of people know about the history between the United States and Nicaragua. Most people don't know about the last 5 minutes of what we just discussed. They know about this stuff. And from 1909 to 1933, the U.S. occupied Nicaragua and was just kind of there, again, trying to control a lot of the shipping channels and ways for people to get through, especially during the World War between 1914 and 1918. Let's fast forward to what everyone that is older than 25 should know about. And if you're younger than 25, get a book. because this is big. In 1980s, the Reagan administration charged the CIA with helping a group of Nicaraguan rebels called the Contras. And they were basically saying, "Hey, we're going to try and funnel the Contras because we want to overthrow this government, and the Contras are the rebels, and we want them to be the people in charge." Yes.
We should note that like the government that was in place, the Sandinistas, they had kind of taken over from the Somoza regime that had ruled for a long
A
time.
long time.
A long time. The Sandinistas were kind of they were kind of like the workers group, but Reagan, got involved with the Contras, and things ensued.
Yeah, so I think that part's a little bit important, but what's really important is what happened with the Contras. And again, they were funneling money to the Contras to kind of support their quest to try and overthrow the government. And in 1983, the US Congress basically said, "No, we're not doing this anymore." And so they prohibited federal funds to go to the Contras. And what happened after that? The Reagan administration said, "No, we don't do this. We just got to figure out a way how." So what they did was they started selling guns to Iran, which was not our friend at the time, and also a place where we were not allowed to have, do business. They were secretly selling guns to Iran and using those proceeds and basically saying, "Hey, instead of giving us money, send that money to Nicaragua, to the Contras." So the Reagan administration was selling guns, and the proceeds from those gun sales were going to the Contras. Of course, that became the Iran-Contra affair, which was the government affair in the late 80s and is one of the biggest scandals in American history. But it started from, again, the United States trying to stick their nose into Nicaraguan business, so to speak. Because of all this, of what we just talked about, the government down there right now is just very anti-American at this point, and just the government at large. Right now, it is one of the most authoritarian governments in the Western Hemisphere. Some people call it the most authoritarian in the Western Hemisphere. They've banned foreign journalists, especially from the United States, from the country. You can't even enter. And they're very anti-imperialism, which makes sense because we've been trying to do it for the last 150 years to them. So, or almost 200 years to them. So this is why right now there's not a lot of business being done between Nicaragua and the United States. Accordingly, as we move into the culture part, we're talking about one of the poorest nations in Central America.
Yeah, and I think it's important. Like you look at what Nicaragua is now, and as much as we would like to say, "Oh, that's too bad. It's an authoritarian regime. They don't support the media. They view journalists as the enemy." Like we really can't be on moral high ground here because it's kind of on us how they got here.
Yeah.
To begin. Yeah, this is on us. So it's like pump the brakes. Like I get it. I get why they are where they're in, why they're in the spot they're in. The other interesting thing that we didn't really touch on was the canal projects.
Mhm.
Like we obviously know the Panama Canal, huge thing for Central America, big project by the United States. Like getting that done was very influential in how Central America, like the economy, grew. Going back into the mid 1800s, there were efforts to build a canal in Nicaragua. Coming from the Caribbean side through to Lake Nicaragua, and it's a manageable project, but they never could figure out how to get it done or how to finance it, so it never happened. And you wonder how much things would be different if Nicaragua is where that canal ended up, because originally Nicaragua was, the primary land, the primary sea destination, because it was like a 15-mile like gap between the Pacific Ocean and Lake Nicaragua. Like that's about as good as it got. So when you're trying to get stuff from the East Coast to the West Coast, when the growth of like California and the gold rush and everything like that was the primary route. And then once the Panama Canal got done, then things changed from there
and shifted quite quickly.
Yes.
And as we get into the culture and just everything about the demographics and geography, First of all, Nicaragua is the largest country by area in Central America, but it is also the third most populous Central American country, 6.85 million people, of which just over a million live in Managua, the capital. Managua is the fourth largest city in Central America. Nicaragua is divided into 15 departments. We call them states, they call them departments. And then they have two self-governing regions in the Caribbean. The official language is Spanish, but they also speak English, Mosquito, Rama, Sumo, Garifuna, and then various forms of local Creole in the country. Now, we mentioned some of these things, but the geography is kind of split into three main parts. You got the Pacific lowlands, you have the Marrakesh Mountains, and then you have the Mosquito Coast, which is on the Gulf side. And you mentioned it, Eric. Nicaragua has Lake Nicaragua and then Lake Managua. Those are the two biggest freshwater lakes in Central America. They are very, very big. And both of them contain a bull shark, which is called the Nicaragua shark. And it calls those waters homes. Bull sharks have a tendency to be able to live in fresh water. And so they have a specific one that lives in those two lakes. They also have a native sawfish, and both of them are protected from fishers. So at first it was a great source of agriculture and fishing, and it was kind of a big deal because people wanted to eat the shark because it was a great source of food for how much they had. But because of the numbers dwindling, they have banned that. So the bull shark and the sawfish can live in peace and harmony within those two lakes.
I had put my finger up because I was going to say, oh, did you know they have sharks in Lake Nicaragua?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, remind me when we go there. I'm not going in that lake.
Yeah,
Look
no,
out,
pass.
peaceful.
Hard pass.
Pass. But the other thing is that Nicaragua is also just beautiful. There's a lot of biodiversity. There is 1/5 of the country is designated as a protected land, like a seashore or forest, landmark, what have you. And of course, I mentioned one of them earlier, but there are 21 active volcanoes in Nicaragua. So it's also a very active seismic country. And so I think the last major one was in the 1960s, but each of them are at times capable of blowing its top. Now, let's get to some of the good stuff. Let's get to the food. The national dish is the gallo pinto, which is, and I don't know, I've never been to Nicaragua, but I've had this dish. It is a dish of fried white rice and red beans that it's kind of fried that they have as part of any meal, but they really have it with breakfast. Now, the thing about gallo pinto is that Nicaragua claims to have invented gallo pinto, but so does Costa Rica. And now is a big fight between those two countries as to who has the best gallo pinto and who invented it. And both of them claim to have invented this. So both of you, I think, have been to Costa Rica. Jonathan, have you been to Costa Rica?
No, I've been to Costa Rica.
Oh, you haven't, but I know, Eric, you have.
Mhm.
And if you had the red beans and rice looking mixture there, that is gallo pinto. So you've had the Costa Rican version, as I have. If you've had that at any meal, that's usually something that's a staple. It's just a staple side that they put on any meal, no matter what you're having. So gallo pinto. They also have quesillo, which is a street snack. Tajadas, maduros, which is kind of like a sauteed plantain, and then like one of those fresco juices. And a lot of the Caribbean has these. You know the ones, everyone knows them. It's the ones that you kind of stick on. Looks like it comes in a plastic bag, and they just throw a straw in it and give it to you. That's the kind of juices that they have in Nicaragua. But two main beers in Nicaragua, Toña and La Victoria. But in my mind, Nicaragua's greatest contribution to the world is Flor de Caña, which
Hell
is one of
yeah.
the best rums,
Yeah.
period.
Uh-huh.
I literally stay with a bottle in my liquor cabinet. It's that good. And I just ran out like 2 days ago. It did not have a chance to get to the store tonight to do one to have it for this episode. But Flor de Caña is one of the best things, period. And then just to wrap up, the most popular sport, baseball by far. And then after that, it's boxing. Soccer is starting to come up, which I know you guys will discuss.
Yeah.
And two of the famous sports heroes that they have that have, come to the United States and people have heard of, Dennis Martinez, who is one of the great pitchers in baseball history, and then Ricardo Mayorga, who was a boxer who was out of this world for a good decade, was one of the main boxers that you saw in like the mid to late 90s.
Yeah. Just before we get into the soccer stuff, I do want to shout out like Flor de Caña. I think that's probably the biggest, most well-known Central American rum. Like that is what you find most places that have a rum collection.
Yes. It's either
And
that or it's either in Central America, you're probably thinking either that or Ron Zacapa. Those two
yeah,
are at basically any bar that has rum from Central America. But yes, like of course we talk about the Caribbean rums, but a pound for pound best liquor, one of the pound for pound best liquors in the world is Florida Cognac.
yeah, you will not have a bad time with Florida Cognac. Like
Never.
it is as solid gets. Um, Apparently, yeah, like they've got like a distillery, like you can go check it out when you go visit Nicaragua. Whenever we actually get to go, whenever there's a game for us to go visit, I definitely want to make that part of the trip for sure.
Yes.
A pilgrimage to our Mecca, or Mecca of Rome. All right, let's talk soccer. So, just a little background on the organization of the soccer in Nicaragua. It's run by the Nicaraguan Football Federation, also known as FENIFUT. That's FENIFUT. It's the official governing body of soccer in Nicaragua. It's founded in 1931, but they didn't join FIFA until 1950, and they joined CONCACAF in 1961. Nicaragua, they've got on the men's side, they've got three main leagues. They've got the Primera, the Liga Primera, that's the top division, a Segunda, and a Tercera. Promotion relegation between them. The Copa Primera is the domestic tournament that's actually operated by the Premier Division now. There used to be a Copa Nicaragua. That doesn't exist anymore. The last time that was contested was in 2005. Copa Primera took over in 2019, establishing a domestic tournament. The good thing about Nicaragua is that they also have some structure on the women's side. Nicaragua has formed a women's league in 1996. It operates as a double round robin tournament. And considering the lack of infrastructure for women's sports in a lot of these countries, it's great to see Nicaragua's got that building. The Nicaraguan women's national team, they have not qualified for a Women's World Cup to date. They played their first international in May of 2000, a 5-0 loss to Guatemala. With CONCACAF being what it is, they've had some very large results. They've got their biggest win was a 19-0 victory over Turks and Caicos back in 2022. They have never qualified for a Women's World Cup. They haven't qualified for an Olympic Games. The best they've done in a women's championship is 2 wins out of 4 in qualifying this last time around. There's still some growth there. A lot of their team plays domestically. They have recently called in a U.S. college player, Emily Molina, who's playing at Gardner Webb. But for the most part, it is domestic players for the teams in their league. Most recently, they've had a run. They've actually, as of recording, they are on a 6-game unbeaten run. Here in 2024, they actually have not lost this calendar year. Their last loss was a 4-0 loss to Brazil away in December of 2023. There isn't too much else to talk about. It's really hard to find some more information about the women's team, but I think we can have plenty to talk about as far as the men's team goes. Jonathan, do you want to talk about the men's national team program?
Yeah, so men's national team, as Eric mentioned, right off the top, the U.S. has only played them once in their time. Undefeated. So currently they're ranked 130th. They got as high as 92nd in December of 2015. Their history outside of the UNCAF Subconfederation, the Central American Subconfederation, isn't the biggest. They have very little to show for what they've done in the ways of national team honors. Their probably biggest thing was in 2009. They made their sole Gold Cup appearance. And then also they were supposed to be in the Gold Cup in actually they were there in 2017, 2019. I don't but at 2023 they were disqualified. So they had a situation where it was found out that they had fielded an ineligible player 8 times. And in that time, that was during both Nations League and during qualification for the Gold Cup. So they got disqualified.
I think the interesting thing was that story was broken by an SB Nation blog that had tracked down that Richard Rodriguez was likely the player in question.
It
Donald
was FMF. It was the Mexican blog. Was like, hey, is this player really been playing? Because I think it was right before somebody was supposed to play Mexico in a friendly or something. Like, is this guy supposed to be playing for them? And it was just like a very like throw this question out into the wind and see who takes it. And CONCACAF took it.
Yeah, the player Richard Rodriguez was originally born in Uruguay. He naturalized and became a Nicaraguan citizen, but he did not meet the FIFA requirement of 5 years residency in the country. So it was like, oh yeah, here's citizenship. Why don't you suit up? And it's like,
And it felt like it was at a point where Nicaragua, as you mentioned, they were in the Gold Cup in 2017. They were in 2019. They were supposed to be in 2023, and it felt like it was a period, even during a Nations League, it felt like they were knocking at the door of trying to, get promoted, and they were very close, and it felt like they were just on the cusp of becoming a team that, yeah, might creep into League A, and for us would be great because it would be in that rotation for us to hopefully go. And then this kind of knocked them all the way back down toward the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, they had qualified for this 2023 Gold Cup originally by winning their group in League B.
And it was supposed to be, I'm pretty sure this was the game, was supposed to be our first game, and it ended up being, I'm sorry, our second game. And it was supposed to be, instead of them going, it was Trinidad and Tobago.
Yep,
So Trinidad and Tobago enter our group instead of Nicaragua.
Yes, that is correct.
The Charlotte game, yeah.
Yeah. And Trinidad and Tobago replaced them in League A of Nations League.
Yes.
And we ended up playing them.
So we really could have been there. Like they really messed this up for everybody.
Richard Rodriguez is the reason that Serginho Dest punted the ball out of the stadium.
I'll blame him.
Yeah, I'm down to levy that blame. So their top goal scorer is Juan Barrera, who's also the captain of the men's national team. He's got 25 goals and 89 caps. But then also, like I mentioned, for the men's team outside of in Central America, while they never have won the Central American Games, and then that hasn't been held since 2017, but they've finished third place 4 times and finished second once. So that was really their only instances of silverware. But to talk about, one of our favorite things to talk about is the kits of Nicaragua.
Fire.
Yeah, absolute fire. And like, I think it's really interesting to me because like the brand Cayuca, not a well-known brand, but like this is what you want to see. You want to see a national team really embrace like unique branding, and these kits are insane. We've tweeted about them multiple times, and when we've done like our kit watch, we've definitely given Nicaragua their props. But like they've got not only like a home and away, but a sick third jersey, a black one. Which one do you think is the favorite for you guys?
I really dug the black one. It's with the like, I don't know what, like if it was coral, but just like that blue kind of design across the front of it. I really dig that one.
It looks like a volcano,
Yeah.
It's a volcano at the bottom with the stuff coming out of it.
The third kit, the black one with the what looks like ash or smoke coming up in the form of a sash, is awesome. But I will say that the away jersey, which is I think should be their home jersey, the blue, because it's weird because I think they've switched back and forth between blue and white being their home and away. Technically white is their home, but it has also been their away. But their blue one that has the N like sublimated on there
Yeah.
across the chest is pretty cool.
Yeah. No, they definitely got a good look. The other thing I wanted to touch on as far as like the men's national team is the coach, Marco Antonio Figueroa, uh, Ch- former Chilean national team player. He's known as El Fantasma, which is Spanish for the Phantom. Um, that dude, he's if you have to line up all CONCACAF coaches, he's going to win the Pitbull look-alike contest for sure. He had a great long career, but yeah, he's doing some work with Nicaragua. They are headed to League A in the Nations League. It's exciting times. I think it's time for us to take a break because Donald, you better get yourself ready. We've got a real team or fake team coming up.
I'm gonna go study during the break.
You're not allowed to study. It's vibes.
That's literally the whole thing.
Yeah, the whole point is vibes. God,
I will.
All right.
Okay, I'll study my vibes in during the break.
All right. All right, we're back. Real team or fake team? Your favorite part of our CONCACAF Laser Focus episodes. Donald is up to bat. Jonathan and I have 6 team names. Some of them are real, some of them might be fake. Who's to say? Donald has to use his intuition and decide if they are real or fake.
I'm just gonna go on record. Already say I see Schmitty's face trying to hold back the smirk, and I don't like it. So,
well, it's funny because Jonathan and I were game planning this. I've already changed my mind as far as my game plan. So, like, I'm just winging it at you right now.
but I don't know what the game plan is, so that doesn't affect
exactly
me
yeah.
in the slightest. I'm
you
just,
don't know
I'm
what's
just
going on.
gonna have to just wing it.
All right.
Let's do it.
All right. Jonathan, why don't you start?
Atletico Leon.
Atletico Leon. Sounds like a team that would be real. Leon is obviously a city in Nicaragua. I will go. I'm gonna start out with this a fake team. I think you're tripping me up. Fake.
It is a fake team.
Good. I got one. We won't have. I don't have to worry about the rest of them. I don't have to go 0.
All right. Sunderland FC.
Sunderland FC.
FC.
Off the bat, that sounds fake as fuck. So I'm gonna go real.
Sunderland FC is a real team in the 3rd division of Nicaragua. They're based in San Juan del Sur.
Why do they exist?
I don't know. Maybe they
Do they
maybe
have
some.
Do they have Netflix in Nicaragua? Is that how they got the name?
They've existed longer than that. I know that.
Okay.
Yes. They predate Netflix. Not Netflix the service, but like the Netflix show.
The show, yes.
Okay. All right, Jonathan.
FC Moi Moi.
How do you spell Moi Moi? M-O-Y, M-O-Y?
MUY MUI.
M-U-Y is a one word?
It's 2 words.
2 words. Moi Moi. Like muy, like very, very.
Mm-hmm.
Real?
That is a real team.
Yeah. FC Muy Muy is based in Muy Muy, Nicaragua. That's the name of the town.
Oh, I did know that Moi Moi is a town, but like you could put any town FC and it could be real or fake. So
3rd division. All All right, my next team, Deportivo Walter Ferretti.
Walter Ferretti.
Mhm.
Re- um, I'll go real.
Club Deportivo Walter Ferretti is a real team based in Managua. They are in the Premier Division. The club was founded in 1984 on the initiative of Walter Ferretti Fonseca. It was supposed to be the sporting wing of the Sandinista police,
Oh yeah.
and initially competed it in like an institutional league for the government. They moved to the league system later on. Um, their nickname is Los Policias. Um, but anyways, in 1988, Ferretti was in a car accident on the road to Leon, died, and they renamed the club after him in 1991. CD Walter
Okay.
Ferretti.
I
So
thought
yeah,
when you first said it, I was like, this got to be some Iran Contra shit, and they probably just like,
legit. Like he used
yeah.
the Sandinistas.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, Jonathan.
Rio San Juan FC.
Rio San Juan FC. I'm gonna go fake.
That is a real team.
Third
I was
division.
wondering if it was a river.
Yeah, Rio is Spanish for river.
Thank you. Thank you for
Yes.
that.
Third division.
Yoviva and Elvan, Circa de Rio.
All right, my last one is Real Madrid's FC.
Real Madrid's
Madrid's.
Madriz.
Correct.
You didn't know this was spelling bee too, huh? I'm gonna say that's just too close to Real Madrid, a la Madrid, by the way. And I'm gonna say that's fake too.
That is a real team in the second division. They are based in Somoto. Formed in 1996. They finished second in the Copa Nicaragua in 2021.
I started out hot and I just took my foot off the gas at the end.
Is that 4 for 6?
4 for 6.
Four
Yeah,
for
I got the
six.
first four. You
Yeah.
stumped me in the last two.
Yeah, choking at the end. Brutal. Yeah, I really appreciate that Real Madrid-ish name. I figured might get you.
There was a Juventus FC.
Yes, Juventus FC was one of the ones I had. I was also considering throwing out Real Esteli.
Well, here's the funny thing. I know Real Esteli from CONCACAF Champions League.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure DC United has played them in the past. So
Yeah.
I would have got that's the one Nicaraguan team I knew.
I was
from
thinking
that
about
group.
throwing that out first just to get you thinking twice. Like, is this some reverse psychology shit?
Oh no, I would have known that one because again, I'm pretty sure I don't know if DC United has played them, but I've definitely seen a Real Esteli game in the last like 5 years for the Champions League.
Yeah, I mean they regularly make it.
Mhm.
But yeah, good job, Donald. It's good to be playing the game again. Um, yeah, I think we should wrap it up. We didn't at the top. We didn't really talk about our Patreon, the World of CONCACAF Patreon at patreon.com/podcacaf. Just want to shout out everyone who's been following and supporting us. Obviously, it's been a quiet summer. We've had some stuff going on. You know, finding time to record has been very tough of late. But we appreciate all the support for helping us do this when we can do it. Um, Make sure you go to patreon.com/podcaf, sign up. You don't have to pay to sign up and support, but you can sign up and support and pay us money, and that would be awesome.
As little as $1 a month will get
Yeah,
you
for
something.
as little as $1 of a month, you can help one small podcast pay its hosting fees. Donald, where can people find you?
At Blazing DW on Twitter and at doing all my writing at starsandstripesfc.com, and then also my other soccer pod, the USA Soccercast.
Jonathan.
And you can just find me at JSleep SSP and then also everywhere you get your PodCACAF needs.
Yes, which would be at PodCACAF, PODCACAF. That is all of our socials on your Facebook, your Twitter, and your Instagram. We've got CONCACAF Nations League coming up soon, so we will be on top of that. It's the best time of the year, the fall. A lot of exciting stuff coming up. Again, you can go to our Patreon and hear the one more round bonus episode that we are going to record as soon as we stop talking here, and tune in there. But thanks for listening. Make sure you like, rate, review, subscribe on your preferred podcasting method, where Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Just give us a 5-star, 10 out of 10 rating. Really appreciate that. You guys got anything else?
Nope.
I'm all set.
Yeah. Again, we didn't circle back to this, but I do blame Nicaragua for sending us to Cleveland. But
yes, well, sending y'all to Cleveland, and once they said we're going to Cleveland, you guys are going to Cleveland, I was like, who's we?
All right, we'll talk more about this on one more round. Thanks for listening.